There you go. I see it.
Yeah. Hi. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi. Did we post the link on Twitter?
Yes.
I did post a link.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
There it is. Yeah.
It was very last minute, but it did pop up. Very last minute. I will try not to procrastinate it as much next time.
You can schedule it for yourself next time too. That's an option.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna check if I retweeted it.
Okay. I have no idea if this is Femke or Esme joining, but hello.
Hi.
Hey.
There's always a surprise who is behind there.
I'm really excited to actually be able to discuss this with people because I feel like I like a lot of readers. I don't have anyone in my real life that reads the same things I do. I have a few readers in my life, but I'm the only like fantasy nerd, so I'm really, really excited.
Yeah, very, very relatable. Like my boyfriend also reads, but he only reads like this philosophical stuff, and I'm like, don't put this on me after work. Like, please give me anything fantasy, and I'll be fine, but nothing dense. So yeah. Hello.
Oh, and it's Femke.
Yeah, I saw. She said it.
I have a question for all of you. Have you watched the show before reading the book or played the game?
I played the game like about, I don't know, 2 years. No, 2018. I don't know when it came out. But I played the game and then I watched the show and then I read the book and then I reread the book.
Okay, so you can make like a comparison between like maybe the game, the show, whatever.
Yeah, but I'm not an expert.
I got it.
Because I'm currently playing the game. I finished the main story, but I'm doing the DLC right now. So that's my only like interaction with. I like how we all say the game as if there hasn't been 3, but like nobody talks about the first 2.
I've only seen my boyfriend play like a couple of times, but from a distance, so I didn't really keep up. And then the show came out, and I was like, this looks too interesting. And it's got Henry Cavill in it. Like, fuck it, I'm just going to watch it. Like, hello. And then I was too lazy to pick up the first book. So I was like, yeah, let's just binge watch season 2 as well. And then I was like, yeah, I really need to read these books to see if they actually live up, like, in comparison. And now I'm like, yeah, I need to read the books. And I'm so happy I did read the first book by now, as we're discussing it today. So.
What about you, Sasha?
I've never played the game, and I'm that kind of annoying person who's like, I'm gonna read the books first and then I'm gonna watch the show. So the book is like my first take on the Witcher world, etc. So I know nothing about it except for what I've read like in the first, the like short stories. So that's all I know about it.
That's gonna be interesting.
I personally think that the game is a really good like entrance into the world, kind of like the world, building the map and exploring the creatures. But I think the books also kind of do that well. It's just that you have to put a little bit more imagination into it. As for the show, I think the show really stuck to the book well. I haven't seen the second season, but I think they did a really good job. And of course, the cast is amazing. So,
yeah, all I can say about that is like parts of the first book that we are going to talk about now is like some parts are in season 1 and some are still like included in season 2. So if you missed out parts of book 1, they may happen in season 2. And that's all I'm going to say without spoiling anything for anyone. Because I've also seen a reaction from someone like just wanted to say, hi, my book came in late from the library, so I haven't finished it yet. I'm sure we'll mention when we are going to talk about spoilers, just so that no one will get spoiled for this if they don't want to.
Naomi and Sasha, would you guys consider playing the game now that you've kind of like gotten into the world a little bit?
I don't even know what the game is about, honestly. I really I feel stupid now because I just don't know anything about it, honestly. And hello, Mooney. And I don't even know. I have a Mac, so I don't even know if it works on Mac because usually it's not the case. So honestly,
fair enough.
I don't know. I'm not a gamer either, so.
I played it on PlayStation, so I think that's a good platform to play it on.
Yeah, actually, I'm a gamer, and I'm ashamed I haven't played it yet, for full-on hours, because I've actually got the game, The Wild Hunt. It's the third one, I believe.
Yeah.
And for maybe an hour or so, so I'm not really far into it, and I'm struggling on my computer to get the combat system and everything figured out. So yeah, I'm hardly far enough into it to say that I've properly played the game. So, but I'm still intending to do so one day.
I also played it on the PlayStation. When I moved into my place, I'm like, it'd be fun, treat myself. Me and my boyfriend split a PlayStation 4 for the two of us, and we've gotten so much use out of it because I don't know, this is my first place by myself. I've only been here for a year, and it's been so fun to just have no one expect anything from you, so you can just sit down and play Witcher for 10 hours straight. Yeah. Nobody's gonna yell at you. It's great. It's been
that
fun.
Will be my future soon. Very soon.
Congrats again on the house. That's absolutely exciting.
Yeah, it is a place of my own. No sister behind me anymore. So yeah.
But buying a house, I find is I don't know how it looks over in Europe, and I'm sure each country is different. But here where I live, I can't buy a house. They're so expensive. So it's always so impressive to me when someone my age buys a house, because I'm I'm so proud of you. Good for you.
Yeah, the loan is crazy though, but I'm managing because I'm doing it with my boyfriend. But if I want to do it on my own, I wouldn't be able to do it because then it's way too expensive, crazy expensive. Or you got a shack. Yeah, if you want that, sure, you can go buy that. But if you want a proper house actually living, that's gonna be difficult.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is like in Sasha's region, but here it is.
Oh, it's horrible. I cannot even rent by myself. It's so expensive at the moment, so it's kind of difficult. But yeah.
Femke already saying, yes, I did. So yeah, I did by now. Looking, and then finding a little gem. Nearby, lucky enough. So, not from work, but that's just an asset. That's just an extra thing. So,
it's exciting.
Okay, more people who have actually watched the show and own the games like Femke, but haven't played them yet. So we are very alike in this regard. Only I've watched season 2 as well.
Yeah.
Some people are more like you guys. Not yet. Want to watch the show after finishing the books. I want to rewatch it after I've read the books. I'm definitely going to do that as well. I want to try and keep up, but once they start the actual novels, I want to put it on hold, just so that I can actually be fully surprised while watching or reading, or both, hopefully.
I think that's the fun of it.
Yeah. A little Mooney comment. Thank you.
I was telling myself sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just saying, I'm the same way. I was waiting to read the first, I think you need the first 2 or 3 books in the Wheel of Time to watch the show. And everyone's been talking about it. And I was sitting here I haven't read it yet. I need to. And then the problem is I did that too with Shadow and Bone. I did a read along at the beginning of last year. We did a buddy read with my friends Ray and Rob, and we had a live show. We chatted about it. And then the show came out in April. And I still have not finished it. I was like, you know what? I read the books. Do I really need to watch it? The books are good. I know the story. So now I'm like, okay, I at least have to watch The Witcher and Wheel of Time. If I'm going to sit through all these books, I have to at least get through it. Also, Henry Cavill.
But my thing is, when there are so many TV shows that you know you're hyped for. And when there's so much hype in the book community, I really want to watch them. Like, I can't wait until they come out. And then once they're out, I just don't watch them. I don't know. I think I'm a little bit intimidated by them. Or maybe I just lose interest.
It's hard when everyone's talking about it.
I've mainly got a big book series, actually. Like, I'm quite hesitant to pick up, what's it called, like these Jade War and Jade City books, just because they're so hyped, and I'm already doubting if it's gonna be my cup of tea. And I'm like so scared, like, if I get into it, will I like it or not? Because the pressure is like so high because everybody's loving it.
And I didn't like it. If it makes you feel better, I didn't love it.
I wasn't a fan of it.
Okay, that's setting the bar a lot lower already. Like, knowing my favorites are actually not loving it. It's okay.
I haven't tried reading them, but after seeing how Pris reacted, like how heartbroken and just emotionally like drained Pris was, I'm scared.
Yeah, me too. And at the same time, I'm like,
go ahead.
Yeah, at the same time, I'm like, yeah, I'm scared of it when I saw a reaction as well. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, I want to feel like that about a book as well. But not knowing if it's not going to be my cup of tea, I'm like, yeah, am I going to do this to myself or am I not?
I feel like you have to know when you go into it a lot more. Like, there's some books you don't have to know a lot before going in. A lot of those like really big popular series that like almost everybody likes, it's kind of okay if you don't know that much. I didn't know anything about the Wheel of Time before, because no one talks about the synopsis. It's just like, read it, it's great. But the Jade saga, whatever, the Greenbone saga, I found that I wish I'd known a little bit before I went in. Like, for example, I found their character dynamics were interesting, but I found the characters kind of flat. So like, I wouldn't have any kind of emotional reaction when things happen to them, because I didn't like them. And it's also much more politics. Like, there's some cool action scenes, because everyone talks about Fonda Lee being a martial artist, so her action scenes are good, but there's not a lot of them, and it's so much more like talking. It's talking. So if you don't like that, Naomi, you might not like this series.
Okay, so I'll go into it with like a very small heart and low expectations, and then I might actually sail through the book. Who knows?
That might be a way to do it.
Remember that not all hyped books need to be read. Like,
True.
You read whatever you fancy, you know.
It's hard though, being on the online bookish community and seeing certain things. Like, everyone with the new Sarah J. Maas book, I'm like, why do I suddenly want to read it? But I hate Sarah J. Maas.
Same.
It doesn't make sense.
I'm just gonna go hide.
No, yeah, I actually really like it as well. So
no, the thing is, like, I love Sarah J. Maas's books, but I haven't read them in like ages. I don't keep up with the new releases. The last book that I read was I've been stuck on Empire of Storms for like 4 years, and the last book I haven't read Crescent City. And I've read A Court of Wings and Ruin was the last book. So I'm not keeping up with the new releases, but I still love the writing. Like, I love romance. Okay. I love it. That's why I love these books. I'm not saying the writing is like the best thing ever, but you like what you like, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. She's big on the romance, and that's why a lot of people like. I don't like romance in my books, so for her, like, it didn't work for me. But I can see why people like her, for sure. It's very angsty and very like, you want to just kiss,
But I also feel like the criticism is absolutely valid.
True. But that actually is a nice transition towards the book we are actually going to discuss, The Last Wish. So what did you guys actually think about the writing style, the characters, and everything?
Who's going to go first?
I can go. Sometimes when you read male fantasy authors and there's that trope that's like, her booby boobs boobed boobily down the stairs. Literally the first page had the word like breasts on it. I was like, is this how it's going to be? But I found the more that I got into it, the more I really liked the writing. And there were some parts that I just thought were like actually beautiful, really well written. But there was also some parts where Geralt was just being like kind of sexist. And I'm like, I know you. You're not like this. You're not supposed to be like this. But I thought the writing was really beautiful, and I really liked how some of the like fairy tales that we know were kind of transformed through the short stories. I thought that was
what
really
I wanted to say, because I didn't pick it up like the first time I read this book. I did not. I actually read it for Slavicathon in December, really? And I did not pick up, didn't make the connection between like the fairy tales, and that's why upon rereading I thought it was a little bit more interesting. But I don't think my rating was better for it. I think this book isn't the kind of book that you can reread like a couple of months after you read it the first time. Okay. For me personally.
That's fair.
Question. Yeah. What were your ratings?
4 stars.
4.
I think mine was 4.5.
Let me check. I think... Oh, mine in December was 3.5. This time it was 3 stars.
It dropped.
Yeah, I don't know why. I just there were a couple of stories because I know what was going to happen that I was kind of like dreading going through, because some of them are interesting, but the other ones I wasn't a fan of, because you have your favorites. So yeah, that's why I think it wasn't the best adventure for me, to reread this book.
Yeah, that's also the only reason why it dropped half a star for me, because there were like 2 chapters that dragged it for me. Because otherwise, based on the writing style, the characters, I just flew through it. But just because of 2 chapters, it took forever. Like the one, if this is a spoiler for anyone, there's like the chapters are based on the episodes as well of the show. They're called the exact same. So you've got an episode called The Last Wish. You've got an episode, The Lesser Evil. They're named the same. And the one chapter where Dandelion and Geralt are going to fight this evil thing, this little devil, and meeting the elves, that one took like forever for me to read. That chapter. It took like so long. It took me so long to get through. Same with The Lesser Evil, but that's probably because I compared it to the show. And in the show, it went so much faster that it kind of dragged for me. But like the other ones, like The Last Wish and everything, I love those chapters.
I loved it. I love The Last Wish.
Like, those were really my favorites.
I don't even know which one was my favorite, to be fair. Like, from all the short stories we've read.
See, I really like The Lesser Evil. I thought that one was a really interesting twist on the, like, I think that one was the one that was like Snow White.
Yeah.
I thought that one was really good. See, I found A Grain of Truth, the one where he like I think that's the one with the Bruxa, and like the guy who the beast that invites him into his house.
Yeah.
I hated that one. I was so bored.
I like that one.
Different opinions. Love that. Why did you hate it?
It was like right at the beginning, and I wasn't like feeling it after the first story, because that one was also just kind of very slow, and it was right after, and it was just like dragging for me, and I didn't feel like it had as strong thematic elements as some of the other ones did. Like The Lesser Evil, and then the one, oh god, I have them like tabbed and I can't remember now. I should have probably like the one you were saying, the one where Dandelion and Geralt are going after the Sylvan, the devil. I thought that one was cool. Like after they meet the elves, there's some really interesting like thematic discussions about like well, I interpret it as like indigenous people and how they're supposed to like coexist with humans, but well, humans like regular people. The elves are trying to coexist with humans. It's like I found like those are really interesting, but then that other one at the beginning, The Grain of Truth or whatever it was just like, I don't know, I was bored. Why did you love it, Mariana?
I don't know, I liked how like kind of, I wouldn't say fairy tale-y, but it's different from, I feel like, the other stories. it has this twist towards the end that I didn't personally expect. And I just thought that like having a character that, you know, everybody hated, and then having like this twist towards the end, I thought that was like really interesting, because we get a different perspective from it. And yeah.
That's fair. It did surprise me too.
Yeah.
For sure.
What I also really liked about the book, and then it's more like comparing it to the series, is how you actually go through the main storyline of him recovering from the Striga wounds he got, and then you get the side stories next to it, and you keep on going back to him recovering. And I actually really liked that, how they went hand in hand, and yet you got so much information. And that's also why I like it, that you just got thrown into the book without any specific world building or anything. Like, you're just naming the creatures and everything, and you kind of just have to know what's going on. And I actually really like that, just because you've got the main story going next to it. Like, you always go back, and I actually like that. Usually it confuses me, but in this book I actually really liked it.
Yeah, same.
I was worried it was going to be like just a bunch of unconnected short stories, but that format worked really well for me. I found it kind of grounded, at least like one larger story.
Yeah.
I wonder if I think it was the lesser evil that happened in Blaviken. Is that why they call him the Butcher of Blaviken?
Yeah.
That's the origin of that nickname?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he slaughtered kinda everyone. Like, yeah, that's where the nickname's coming from. So yeah.
Do you guys normally like short story format, or do you just
No?
Oh, so we're all the same then.
Usually I need more from the short stories. Or there is too much, or not enough, or no emotions, or something like missing, some link or whatever. But here, the way it was done kept me like captivated till the end. So that surprised.
Yeah, because they're connected. And kind of like, even we have time lapses. I mean time cuts. And I feel like at the same time, like there is it is kind of like a solid book, one book, despite all these cuts. But I think the second book, Sword of Destiny, that we're going to read is also short stories, and then it's like a proper.
Yeah, it still felt like a book, like a proper book that you're reading, despite the short stories. While usually short stories, like Sasha mentioned, they're kind of feeling flat.
Yeah.
Like, there's no depth, hardly any true feelings towards characters and everything. So yeah, that's actually a big plus for this book as well for me. That's also why I rated it higher than a usual short story book, because it actually kept me gravitated, and I did want to keep on reading it. Like, I finished the short story, okay, let's continue. Like, what did he do next, or what did he do after? And yeah, I really like that.
Yeah. Sometimes with short stories, there's you fall into the trap of like, there's some really strong ones and there's some really weak ones. And I feel like for a lot of people, short story collections always fall in like the 3-star, because you have some like 5-star stories. We've got some filler stories that absolutely don't make sense. And I feel like because there was that one main story kind of woven through, it really kept it grounded and from becoming too like too choppy, I guess. But I feel like I'm biased because I remember when we were talking in the group chat, one of you mentioned that the short stories are almost like the side quests in the game. I think it was you, Mariana, that said that.
I don't recall, but
someone had mentioned that like you have like missions and side quests in the main game where you are given contracts to go hunt monsters. And that's kind of what some of the short stories were like. So I might be a little biased because I love doing side quests and contracts, but like I enjoyed that kind of, there's a beginning, middle, and end to that story, but it doesn't feel repetitive. It doesn't feel, you still know the character and the world. So it doesn't feel like you're just kind of, you don't get enough of it. You feel like it's a complete.
Yeah.
I think that is actually a perfect way of looking at this book. Like, it makes it a little bit more interesting if you go into it with that point of view, kind of making it like a game in a way. Like, taking each story as a quest. So yeah, I think that's interesting.
I can't remember who said that. I swear to God, one of you had mentioned it in the group chat. Now I can't remember. But that's how I went into it, because that was when we were just organizing the read along.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that makes me a little bit more excited to go into the short stories, because otherwise I was kind of like dreading it a little bit, but it ended up working out great.
Yeah, in that case, I'm also thinking about creating a little Discord chat channel thing, just so that we can discuss it throughout. Like, some people also mentioned it on Twitter. They asked if there is a Discord group, but seeing the success and everything and how much we're actually enjoying talking about it, I'm trying to set it up, but I'm not that good with Discord. But I'll try and see what I can do to actually make a channel for it as well, to discuss it throughout, so people don't have to wait an entire month to voice their opinions in case they want to share it.
Yeah,
I can say, let me know.
The Discord if you need help.
Okay. I have one for the readathon, so I had to learn how it works because I didn't know either. But then everyone like, because people use them for readathons a lot, so I'd started one for the Game of Tomes readathon. It's actually like it's kind of fun once you get the hang of Discord, because it's like its own language.
Yeah, and people should really participate in that readathon, because it's actually great. Like, how you did with the stories, like, how even... I feel like such an old granny seeing how much effort and everything that's been put into it. Like, I'm not a youngster in that regard. Like, I'm an old granny. Like, I'm such a noob with computers. Like, I can't keep up, and I'm a youngster. No, it's really been brilliantly done.
Thank you. It was fun. I had to learn a lot of new things like Discord and how to make a website, but it worked out. Thank God.
So that actually brings us to the characters, because we haven't really talked about them yet, besides Geralt. Really? So what do you guys think about them? The characters.
I love Dandelion. I love Dandelion. He is just so obnoxious. And
that's exactly the word I would use, except I didn't remember it.
It's like, again, coming from the game where he is very similar. He's very flamboyant. He's very like full of himself, but that in the game you don't really see it as much, but in the book he really proved himself as like a friend to Geralt. He will go to the ends of the earth for Geralt, and Geralt would do the same for him, and it's really sweet to watch because they're so different. Geralt's this like stone cold stoic person, and Dandelion's this like artiste who has all these great ideas, but like they work really well. I don't know. I love their dynamic.
But I feel like he keeps saying the wrong thing. Like he's so like, I don't know.
I'm gonna make this crazy comparison, but I always in my head compare them to Donkey and Shrek. Like, for some reason, like Dandelion reminds me of Donkey so much. Like, he's funny as hell, and yet he's so stupid with his remarks at times. And then Geralt is like very like dry in everything he does. And that's kind of reminding me of Shrek, like how he interferes, like, and communicates with Donkey. Yeah, I know, it's maybe a very crazy comparison.
I'm not going to be able to unsee it now. Thank you.
But it's a good thing. I also really love Dandelion. I had to get used to the name, because in the TV show they use Jaskier as a name.
I think that's the same character, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the same character, but they use the names intertwined, like Dandelion and Jaskier. And I was like, wait, who is who? Does he even exist, Jaskier? Like, who is he? And then, like, a few pages in, I realized, yeah, okay, Dandelion is Jaskier. So yeah, I was a little confused there.
Weird. I wonder why they changed it.
I have no idea. But same actually with the horse's name. Like in the show, it's Roach. And sometimes in the book, I'm not 100% sure if it's referred to as Roach.
I mean, in the games, it's also Roach.
In the games, it's Roach.
Yeah. But I think it's also in the book.
Because I've also seen like the original name for it, like Plutka or something like it, with like the special O writing with the line in between.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was also like a little confusing, but I'm so happy the other names remained the same, so I didn't get too much of a mindfuck going through it. That's like the only down part of watching or playing something before reading the books.
Mm-hmm.
Did
Like the
you
name changes.
did you all read the book physically, or did you audiobook it, or?
I listened to the audiobook while reading the book. I feel like I did the two at the same time. So
Same.
yeah.
Okay.
I kind
I
of
just
need
read it.
I just read it as well, physically.
Yeah. I don't like fantasy audiobooks. I find I don't know why, but like if I see a name and I pronounce it a certain way in my head and then someone else pronounces it differently, I get just lost.
Yeah, that's why I actually listen and read at the same time. Like really. So it's like immersive reading or whatever. So I get the pronunciation right, kinda, and I'm actually really focused. And it usually really helps me with like high epic fantasy because I'm like listening and reading. So my brain doesn't have time to just wander and forget like some details or whatever. But yeah, I absolutely get it. Audiobooks are not for everyone.
Yeah,
I like them for thrillers, but not for fantasy or nonfiction. I can't do it.
I love them for horror because they actually give you that feeling. Like it's also when watching a movie, it's like almost you can hear the music playing in the background when you're actually listening to it. And sometimes I'm like, no, I have to turn this off. Like I'm going to physically read this, so I want to sleep. I still want to sleep.
Are the audiobooks for the Witcher series, are they like full cast or is it just one narrator?
It's full cast.
I got just one narrator.
Really? I think they are different audios.
Yeah,
there's a couple of
probably different editions.
It's
But
like
I had just one person.
I feel like I had different people narrating it. It's like Dune. You have like different versions of it.
Yeah, you had a full cast, soundtrack, and everything. I had just one guy, and the way that guy read women, women's dialogue, it felt like he was mocking women. It was cringy. So I'm jealous of you, Sasha, because I ended up rating Dune, I think, 2 stars. But I love the world, but yeah.
Yeah, well, if anyone wants to pick up like Dune, the audiobook full cast is amazing, and you can hear the sand moving around them and the wind and everything. It's amazing. But yeah.
Good to know because I still have to pick it up.
Same.
Also, we talked backstage about this, but what kind of book do you have? Because this is my edition.
Yeah, I've got the second one here because the first one is wrapped up. The one I've got the one that Sasha's got showing. This is
got the North
one
American
already.
one.
Like I wish I got the American ones. Like they feel authentic. Like the diehard originals and floppy.
I've got Blood of Elves in the red edition as well. But the other ones are all this edition.
I love the game covers. I find they just look so like epic. I know they're not technical. Like I know some people complain because if they haven't played the game, it's not fun. But I love like especially the Lady of the Lake, which has Ciri on it.
Yes, I love that.
I love that. But I'm a bit of a simp for Ciri, so
same.
So let's talk about the ladies of the show now that we're mentioning Ciri. So how did you girls feel about the ladies?
I don't know if this is going to get into like spoiler territory because it's a theory I have. Okay. I don't know if we should hold on to that for later.
Or are we going to discuss anything non-spoilery still, or are we going to dive into the spoilery section? Or should we maybe ask the people if they still want to keep it non-spoilery or if they want to head towards spoilers?
You know, I'll hang on to it and I'll let you guys discuss. And then once we get to spoilers, I'll spout my stupid theories because I don't know if that's what I don't know if I'm onto something or if I'm way off. So I'll just hold on to it for later.
Yeah, I feel like what I'm gonna say is gonna be kind of spoilery because it's like it touches like some of the characters, but also maybe like some like the reason why the book didn't have like 5 stars for me was because it felt like it was written by a man, and the way the bodies and everything was described sometimes took away the woman's personality for me, because I was kind of mad of reading about them or them being described. And but that's like when I read it the first time, because I reread like some chapters, I mean some short stories or whatever, it didn't like strike me. I don't know how come, but the second time when I probably like understood the world a bit better, I saw all these tiny things and I was like, and again, like I'm saying that, but I don't know if it is a matter of translation or not, because I heard that there were some issues with the translation. So I'm just like, I don't know. But I like what's her Yennefer, her pronunciation, Yennefer.
Yennefer.
Yeah, I like reading about her.
Yeah,
me
she's
too.
one of my favorite characters, even in the games.
Oh,
And
I liked her more in the book than in the game, actually.
I've only seen her once in the game, like
I
at the
don't
very,
have-
very beginning.
I don't have a preference, the book or the game, but I personally love the show. Just because we get more of Yennefer and more of like her character arc and her like who she is. So yeah.
Yeah. Also, what Judith is saying, like she likes Yennefer a lot. I do too. But this is also the reason that I might be biased. I loved her on the show.
Yeah, but see, I haven't watched the show, I haven't played the game, but I liked her.
So, but you see, Sasha, that's why your opinion is important, because you bring a different perspective to this.
It's and really Sasha's interesting if you know nothing about her.
Out there still.
Mm.
So that's also why I think this group is so interesting, because we all got a different point of view. That actually makes this discussion even more interesting.
Plus, we all read kind of like different genres, and the way we tackle books is a little bit different, because I personally like romance in my books. I don't like political stuff too much, like not too much. But also, what did I want to say? Oh, I forgot now. Okay.
We all read different things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they perceive the book differently.
Yeah.
And that's why I liked Yennefer, because I found in the game you almost see her more through interactions with other characters, because you get to see at the beginning you're trying to find her, so you get to see how Geralt views her and Vesemir, and then later on, I won't I'll just like kind of generally not spoil the game, but like you're at Kaer Morhen at the Witcher stronghold and Yennefer is there and everyone's like grumbling about her because she like basically walked in is like, you're gonna do this, I need help with this, everyone's gonna like go around me. So you kind of see how everyone else reacts to her. But having Geralt meet her in the book, I was like I said, I don't do romance, but like watching them together and watching her fully able to like create her narrative, I guess, in the book, you get to see her 100%. And it was so fun to watch her, because yes, she's a little bit hard to deal with. She's like, she has her ways and she's stuck to it, but she came off as very strong and interesting rather than just kind of mean like she is in the game. So I really, really liked watching her. And you get to see like her ambition and like her power and how powerful she is, but you also get to see that like she has something else to her and you're intrigued.
Yeah.
Also, really, that's probably why it was my favorite chapter. Like, I love their chemistry together in the book. Like, not even talking about the show, but purely the book. I don't know why, but you could see like the fire and the sparks fly between them without them even doing anything. Like even them like him describing about them looking at each other makes you want like, yeah, they need to be together. They have to be together.
Yeah, I agree on that, because I don't do romance. Like I have something against romance, but it just made sense. Like the way it was written just worked and felt like very natural, if that makes any sense. And I like that.
Yeah. forced romance is like a total no-go for me. Like when they're all of a sudden together with zero connection or zero chemistry, even for someone who loves romance in her fantasy books, that's a no-go for me.
Yeah, this is where the author could have gone very wrong, especially because you have this format where it's short stories, and it could have felt very insta-lovey, but it didn't, and that just it worked for some reason. Yeah,
it was really well written. I mean, it's a translation, but the way it was written was very like fairy tale-esque, but like adult fairy tale-esque, but also kind of melancholic. Is that in English, melancholic or whatever?
Yeah.
So I actually enjoyed it because I noticed that recently I haven't been enjoying any fairy tale retellings or whatever, but here it just felt like sad, but like I don't know how really to describe it, but I felt.
Sasha, maybe it's your mood. Maybe your mood is kind of like you want to read how you feel.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe everything in your life is influencing you to enjoy this more. And that's why I think books are just so great. Because one day, if you read this book at a different point in your life, you could have not just, liked it. But if you read it at the right time, I think it's just really powerful and it's wonderful.
Yeah, true.
I think that's the downfall and the magic of a book. Really, like the worst book could be your favorite based on your mood, and yet it could be like an instant DNF at the same time. All depending on your mood and how you feel and everything. So
true.
That's true. That's true. I just remember finishing the Last Wish like after the whole thing with Yen and Geralt, and I was just like I was sitting on my couch and I was just like kicking my legs. I'm like, oh my god, yes, I love it. I never do. I don't get like emotional. I don't really like ship people ever, but like those two, I was like, yeah,
yeah.
Especially watching like Dandelion's reaction, everyone like watching them, not to like go too deep into it, but everyone like reacting to them was so funny, and I was like, I love it. Everything about this is perfect. 5 out of 5 stars. Chef's kiss.
Yeah, that's where I found it hard to like put the balance with his writing. Like he's so extreme describing women, but at the same time he's so blunt at describing those kind of scenes that it actually makes it funny. And then I'm like, yeah, okay, I can look past that, looking through the point of view of a guy. Like, okay, maybe he sees some appetite to say it like that, like something he likes in the extreme, but at the same time, it's so blunt that I love it.
Yeah,
it worked.
Yeah, it absolutely worked. But also, like, I was trying to kind of understand why some scenes of women were described a certain way or whatever. But when you think about it, like they're bred and raised mutant or whatever in order to kill monsters, so they really don't have anything besides the contract, the killing, money, whatever goes around.
They're very direct.
Yeah, so they haven't like evolved in a family surrounding by people with whom you have to have like a normal conversation with and normal behavior, like, so it kind of made sense by the end.
At the same time, these books were published in 1993, I think. So could also be that.
Yeah, absolutely. But it also made sense through killer point of view with no human connection, or like, because he's also trying to fit in a world that doesn't really need him anymore. So it's kind of,
and everybody's just mean to him. I mean, doesn't want him there.
Yeah. So not trying to say it's okay, just trying to understand.
Also, this scene was so funny.
I know. Oh my god.
It was amazing. It was absolutely hilarious. And I also think will be a nice transition going towards spoilers. So we can get deeper into certain scenes and talk about them.
Yes, please.
Because what do you guys all think about Geralt's Wish? The actual name of the book, The Last Wish.
I mean,
I feel like I misunderstood something. Like I think I get what his wish was, because I know that in the game, there's a scene where they like undo it. So he linked himself with Yennefer, right?
Mhm.
That's what his last wish
Yeah.
was. Okay. I was like, okay, it seems very ambiguous, but like I think I understand. I don't know how I feel, because I feel like of all the things that could have happened, is that the most logical?
No.
No.
Right?
But then again, at that moment, he's a desperate guy longing for her.
It was raw. It was
Like,
just raw
yeah.
fish. Raw fish.
But also, it's great for future books. I think it there's a lot that can be explored there, kind of.
Oh, for
Okay.
sure. I wasn't like super clear in the way it was written, so I was like, is this what, am I missing something? I think that's what happened. It was just very like I'm so bad with action scenes in any books. I'm really dumb and I can't like picture them. So I was like, okay, I think I understood what's happening, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I always need to let it sink in, and then maybe it happened like this, like, and then I've got a vision, and then it's like not even close to what actually has been written down. But that's my kind of fighting scene, or like my kind of action-packed scene in my head. And then when you see the series or whatever film or anything, and I'm like, no, this is not how I imagined this happening.
So is that short story, is Yen and Geralt meeting in the show?
Yeah. It's the same name for the same episode.
Yeah.
Like every chapter, like for example, this one, The Last Wish, also starts like with them fishing, and then the thing happening to Dandelion with the genie, and them leading up to them meeting each other.
And was it just as impactful?
To me personally, yes, because roughly said, the sexual tension was just there. It was just there in the series. Like you could just feel it, and Dandelion or Yesker being completely dazed off was so funny in the series, and in the book as well. It was like so funny because like in the book as well, he's walking, or they're walking actually, through a room with naked people. And in the series you can see like Yesker is just living the dream. Like he's just so amazed, like walking and being dazed off around all these naked women and people just fucking around, literally around him. Like he feels like he's in paradise, and Geralt is like, oh, just sit there and wait and do nothing. And then he just walks right towards her. So that's actually quite relatively the same in the book. Or at least how I envisioned it as well.
I think the show really helped me imagine the book, because the book, we talked about the writing before, and I'm not talking about like the way women were written, but just in general, the writing. It feels like a little bit medievally, kind of like you would read a fantasy, in those times, kind of. It's the writing is very good, and I think I was very surprised with the translations, because usually translations don't really do that well. I mean, at least when you're translating from English to your own language. So I was really surprised that when translating into English, it worked really, really well. And so I think the writing itself in its original language has to be, just quality for it to translate to a different language. So I was really surprised by that. And also with the show, I feel like I already said this before, but I feel like the show really did a good job of portraying this book, because when I first saw the show and I was reading the book, I was like, okay, this is the same. There's not many differences, except you have different you in the show. I'm not going to spoil, but you get more of an insight to Yennefer's character. So I'm thinking maybe the Sword of Destiny is gonna kind of explore that. So maybe season 1 was book 1 and 2.
And season 2 as well. I think season 1 and 2 are exactly book 1 and 2, but like
mixed
meshed.
together. Yeah.
But what would you recommend? Would you recommend someone to watch the show before reading the first two like books or not?
I mean, it depends kind of the person you are. If you enjoy watching movies, if you enjoy being spoiled and don't mind reading after, then definitely go for the show. But some people are like, they can't know anything about the books, and they can't because they're gonna get bored. So I don't know, but I think for me it was a very good idea to watch the show before the book, because then I wouldn't enjoy the book as much. It just added to the experience.
Yeah, for me personally, it was a lot easier to envision everything. Like I could clearly see, okay, I can see them there. I can, even when I like missed out on their description of their looks, like I just started to envision how the show portrayed them.
Yeah.
If that's any weird thing. And also I think even the book still surprised me at times. So by the way it's done, like it's not a literal copy paste from the show, so it was nice to actually see the approach from both sides.
Okay.
Plus the creatures and the world building, the way that was portrayed in the show, I think that was very well done.
Yeah, when watching the show, it was so hard to put anything in chronological order.
Yeah.
Compared to the book. Like, it was such a mindfuck that actually the book helped me understand the show.
Yeah, also that I would like to emphasize that. So maybe like the show just jumps a lot. So
like for example, we got it isn't like that, but we start with like the lesser evil episode, then we go to the last wish, just to go all the way back to the Striga episode, and it keeps on going back and forth. That way it doesn't make sense unless you pay attention to the details.
But then towards the end, it all kind of comes together, I feel like.
Yeah.
It feels very Game of Thrones. Like the
in
way
a way it does, but not in chronological order.
I feel like the way you describe it, I feel like I probably would enjoy the book better because the logic of it just made a lot of sense to me. I liked having the last wish at the end. It felt like the whole time you were slowly ramping up to something in the book, and then having the meeting was like the crescendo. Like it was just spectacular to watch everything kind of. Now you know the world, you know the characters, and then it's like, oh my god, you meet Yen, and things just kind of go from there. So I like that it was not towards the beginning, because I feel like the book would have gone downhill instead of.
But to be fair, the show also has like this climax. I feel like, especially and towards the end of the last episode. But I also feel like we have so many characters, especially in the book, and then in the show you follow not every single character, but you follow the important characters, and at first you're a little bit confused because it's a lot of jumping back and forth from that character to that character, and then towards the end I feel like it all kind of comes together well.
Yeah, like in the show, like non-spoilery really, you follow like 3 perspectives, like Geralt, Ciri, and Yennefer. And Ciri is like in the now, Geralt is jumping back and forth, and Yennefer, you start with a backstory first. So you start the show watching their backstories, and then you can see them evolve really into what they are at that same point from the last witch. Like to say non-spoilery, like it's very difficult to explain without spoiling the entire series.
No, I understood. It sounds very confusing, but it will make sense by the end.
I think it will make sense, especially since you read the book.
Yeah.
It will be a little bit easier.
I'm trying to figure out if this was the kind of theory. It might not even be a theory. It might just it might be fact. There was was it a short story? Let me try to find the name of it. Shoot. When Geralt has a question of price when he's at the feast and he has to be in disguise. Okay, is this where we meet Ciri's parents? Because Geralt said he's going to come back for the child, the unborn child. Is that unborn child going to be Ciri?
Yes, Pavetta is her mum.
Okay. Because I think her dad has a different name in the game.
I'm not sure.
Because he's the emperor.
Spoil season 2. So I'm not. I'm going to cut you off there because that might spoil season 2 further on. And
that was one of my favorites. That was one of my favorite stories, especially the way it was done in the show.
It was a little long in a way, but I really loved it regardless. But it's been done completely different in the show.
Okay.
In a way. So, like, it's the same but different. Because in the book, I don't recall Jesker or Dandelion being there.
Mm-hmm.
And he's very present in the show there.
There's a different bard there in the books.
Yeah, but in the show, it's actually Dandelion. So there are some things turned differently. So, yeah.
Fair enough. Okay.
The only thing that I thought was a little weird when it comes to the magic system of Pavetta.
Mm-hmm.
And like their magic and she blowing stuff away and everything, I thought that was very weird.
What do you mean by weird?
Like, it was hard for me to comprehend it.
Oh, okay.
Like how it worked and what it was actually about. Like, it just happened.
It needed a little bit more description.
Yeah.
I mean, describing what was actually happening, because it felt like you were just thrown in there and you need to figure it out what's happening.
Yeah. And
I feel like that happened a lot in this book for me. Kind of like I didn't fully comprehend every single scene, and I had to read it like twice sometimes.
Same.
But could Pavetta's magic have been the same as what we know Ciri has, like the elder blood that like nobody even knows? Like, even having gone through the whole game, I still don't know what it is. It just kind of happens at convenient moments a little bit. So like I wonder if that's because it's from her mom and her mom can just kind of do stuff the same way. Not that it makes it better that it's not explained, but I guess that's why she can just do things.
Well, I'm not going to react to that because I actually know. So I'm going to actually comment on that.
Oh.
Are we gonna find out in Sword of Destiny though? Since you know from the show?
I haven't read it yet.
Well, but like if it's in the show, I'm assuming it's gonna be in Sword of Destiny.
It's intertwined in the show.
Okay, so we might find out. I'm really excited.
Maybe you have to watch season 2, and then you can actually confirm your theory, or not, without spoiling anyone.
All right, I'm done.
Wait, am I then wrong in assuming? Wait, no, I'm not gonna say it because then I might be right and it might be a spoiler. So it's better if I don't say it. Then I just ask.
You can always private message me about season 2 if you want to.
Wait, but are you sure it's kind of this? I mean, it's revealed in season 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
it is explained.
Oh, okay. Then I am completely wrong.
Now you even have to explain us.
Okay, well,
not in like thorough details, so I'm expecting that from the
my
books.
Explanation would be that Ciri got her magic from her father because he was,
that's a weird theory, but I'm trying to follow.
Well, Ciri's father, he was cursed.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe that had something, or his blood, or I don't know.
I don't know much about him.
Oh, okay.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Then
I don't know much about him.
Because if I was right, you'd know something about him.
I think the one who knows the most about the dead is Dasha. She knows the most.
Did I just spoil the whole thing?
Well, just by playing the game, you kind of know a lot already because my boyfriend knew as well.
But I was but the game drops you. There's so many Easter eggs and things that are talked about in the game that you kind of need.
And political stuff and world building.
I know, but I don't. There's so many things that are referenced from the previous 2 games, which I assume somewhat follow the main story arc, that I feel like I'm missing a large part of the story. and you kind of just pick up things along the way. So I might be, either way, I can't imagine how we get to what I know from the game from here. So I'm gonna stop talking about it.
But this is part of the journey. You have to remember, we're only on book 1.
Yeah.
So I think this is normal, as every reader who starts this series kind of like has all these questions. So you could go on the internet and you can watch like all the TV shows and you can do all that. But I think this is the best part of being a reader, just, discovering things for yourself as you go on.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's fun to be able to talk theories with other people. I feel like that just makes it more immersive, because you guys bring up things that like you saw maybe in the TV show, or like that you noticed while reading that I missed, and it's fun to kind of be able to look at it a different way. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Like the only thing I still don't know, not from watching the show nor from reading the book, is what the hell actually happened to the genie. Did he just go away, or what actually happened to the genie?
I mean, that's what I understood. He just vanished, no?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, he's like such a dangerous creature and he just vanishes? Like,
I mean, it's maybe just dangerous once you're linked to it, but then after just vanishes. Like, I don't know.
I have no idea.
I
That's like the one
limited
big
knowledge.
question I had, like, after reading the book. Like, what about the genie? Like, he's so destructive.
I mean, the genie was freed, wasn't it?
Because he made the wish. Geralt made the wish.
Yeah.
So he should disappear.
Question: when did you all read the book? Like, what was the finished date? Was it towards the beginning of the month or the end?
Beginning of the month.
Yeah. I finished it the day before I left for my trip, on the 18th, I think.
Oh, I finished it like the 5th or 6th of January already. Like, very early. Like, I couldn't wait.
I finished it on the 28th, on the last day. I kept putting it off. Like, Naomi and me, we were just talking about this. And the thing is, I forget very easily. So I wanted to just put it off towards the end so that it's fresh in my memory. But yeah.
That's fair.
I made it.
Well, that's why I had to like tab certain things, because I knew I'd want to come back to them and talk about them, and I made little notes and stuff, because I'm like, I will forget. I do not like when people ask me like details about my favorite books. I'm like, it's my favorite, but I can't tell you anything.
Head empty, no thoughts.
Literally.
I've even got that with the books I've read like a zillion times. Like, for example, I've read Lord of the Rings a couple of times, but don't go ask me into details. Like, don't do that. Like, if they even would take an exam of me right now from that book, even though I love it with every inch of my soul, like, I would fail. Like, I would fail.
That's why I don't like doing wrap-ups, because how can I remember books that I started at the beginning of the month? I am the kind of person who, once they read something, I have a very bad short-term memory, but once I read something, if it's not memorable, if it doesn't make an impression on me, I'm not gonna be able to say exactly why something is enjoyable. I'm more easily I can describe books that I don't enjoy more easily than books that I do, just because they leave a more lasting impression for some reason. But if a book is like my favorite, I will be able to go on. But if it's like, not that memorable, it's really hard.
Would you say that this was somewhat memorable for you, even though you finished it a little more recently? Like, would you say this is something that will, especially because it's the second time you've read it?
No, I don't think it's, if I'm being honest, I don't think this is the kind of book that I personally would go and reread. If it weren't for this, like Witcheralong, I would not pick this book up again. To be honest, okay, I have a confession to make. I read this book for Slavicathon, which was December 5th. I think I read it, and I decided to unhaul the series. And then Witcheralong happened, and I was like, okay, listen, I'm in a reading slump. Maybe this is the biggest mistake of my life. Here I have people to hold me accountable and to try again. And I'm glad that I did, because I'm having a lot of fun, and I made a new connection, like when we were talking about fairy tales, and it's what I hadn't considered the first time. I didn't make that connection. And so reading it the second time is really interesting because you get a new perspective. But yeah, I think I'm glad that I joined Witcheralong, because I definitely want to continue, but I don't think this will be the book that is my favorite in the series.
That's fair.
Just because the short stories format kind of doesn't work for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm sure like a lot of authors, it's going to get better as he keeps writing more. At least that's my prediction. Like, I think since this was the first one, it's introducing The Witcher. I feel like once there's more storylines and we get characters, I'm excited to see Ciri personally. Like I said, I'm a sim. Once we get more of the characters and stuff, I feel like that's going to be more engaging for all of us too. And the writing might improve too.
Yeah, that's why I'm also scared, like the small story, short story collections are going to be quite forgettable, but very supportive of the main storyline. That way I won't necessarily remember them, but I won't forget them either. Like, I think I'll remember like these little tidbits from the books, like the short story collections, that will help me understand the actual novels better.
You're glad you read them, but you just want to get to the main story, is my mistake. Yeah.
For sure. I feel like they will be good though, in case, I don't know, I feel like sometimes I want to dip back into worlds I love. And I feel like short stories are a good way, because I could just pick up my favorite ones, sit down for 20 minutes and just read that quickly. And it'll just give me that like feeling of, okay, I'm back in it. Like because I love the world. I feel like there's so much to it. It's absolutely massive. I mean, like the map in the game is one of the largest for a lot of like modern video games still. And that's just, you get a little bit of like Velen, Novigrad. The expansion DLC has it's, oh god, what is it? It's French. It's, Mariana, help me out. Do you know what
I can't remember.
Oh, it's gonna drive me nuts. Anyways, there's like this little French area that's also massive on its own, but like you don't really get. Oh, and you get Skellige, but like it's just 3 areas.
One of my favorites.
But the world is so massive in this. So I'm hoping we get more of this world and we get to meet more people and see more of it than what we do in just the short stories. Because even this was a really good introduction. We saw things we didn't see, or I haven't seen.
I think the actual magnitude of like the world, like how big it is perfectly portrayed through the game. Whereas in the book, you don't get that same sense, I feel like. But when you play the game, when you're in this world, when each map, each like country is, a different layout, different landscape, different, at dawn you have these beautiful colors in one world, and then in another it's just like foggy and stuff. I think the game does that really well, whereas in the book you don't get that same feeling that you're traveling across like such wide lands.
Yeah, for sure. Apparently, I was trying to find the name of the area for the DLC, and apparently there's going to be a new one coming out this year to like celebrate the Netflix show.
Ooh, fancy.
That's interesting.
Like a new book?
No, like a new new downloadable content for the 3rd game, a new pack. Yeah. Sorry, I just thought that was interesting. Where the heck is this?
I'm interested in the. Did you say country? The French country that what it was called?
Toussaint. I found it. Toussaint. There we go.
I know there's I think there's a city in the game called Maribor, That's how you say it.
Wow.
Because it's Slovenian. It's a city in Slovenia. So it's I found that really, really funny. But also like Novigrad and
But it's on the Slavic at parts.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's funny to see the hints of the real world in the game, because like obviously there's a lot of like the Slavic fairy tales and folk tales in the names, but there's also I don't know if we're going to see Skellige as much in the books, but Skellige is very reminiscent of like Vikings and Scandinavia, but also like Scotland, because they all have the plaid like house colors. It's really interesting to see how he combined them all. And I like being able to see a few more in here, like the names of the monsters that are very familiar if you're into like mythology and stuff. I'm really curious to see how he's going to keep incorporating those real world elements, but making them fantastical. Like Nilfgaard is very German. I think that's where the inspiration came from. And then Toussaint is extremely French, and it's just like it's kind of cool to see all the inspirations, but they still feel new and fantastical.
Yeah, I think they also represent that in the series. When you watch the TV show, you can see like everyone who is from a certain region, that they actually represent that in their armor. Like they're very distinctive, and yet I can't set them apart. Like there's so many places that they're like fucking with my mind, really. And in that case, I'm really happy with the book because they take you through them a lot slower. I feel like it's not like you're visiting like a zillion different places in one small book.
Yeah,
and I'm really hoping that the other short stories are doing that as well, so it also doesn't feel rushed and confusing.
For sure.
I've been trying to find trigger warnings for The Witcher, but I got mostly for the video game or the TV show. But like, there was this post that I found like a while ago, and it was just a lot of trigger warnings for The Witcher. Which,
I mean, there are many things that could be like triggering in that kind of like setting, etc., etc. Yeah.
Have you checked the story graph? Because they tend to.
I think that's where I saw it.
Because they say for The Last Wish, they say there's graphic violence, death, misogyny, moderate sexism, sexual content, and minor incest. That's what they're saying for The Last Wish.
Yeah, I think that's where I saw it. Or maybe it was a review on Goodreads, but it went in like really deep into, it listed a lot of things.
I feel like for fantasy, like death and violence is always going to be top of the list.
Top notch.
Yeah, but also, the way some fantasy books present certain like things, it can be really graphic and really, really uncomfortable too much,
Yeah, I read like Emily's review, like Emily's from Books with Emily Fox. I don't know if you know her. She went like into details with everything that she didn't like about the book, and when you see that list, you're just like, oh, shoo. Yeah.
I didn't know she'd read it. That must have been before I started following her. I didn't know she didn't like it. I know she likes.
She edited the review like in February of this year. So yeah,
Go be nosy, because I did not know she had read it. Because I know for her, fantasies hit and miss. Like she likes some of the big ones and doesn't like. Oh wow, that is a long review.
Yeah, in short, she DNF'd it because she said it was way too sexist for her to read. And when you see what she listed, you're just like, oh, yeah, I get it. But
that's fair.
Yeah. So.
But I mean, everybody has a different kind of like tolerance for stuff. It's also regarding the mood, what kind of mood you're in. I feel like that also affects you. How, like, for example, some days you have really bad anxiety, so you're not able to push through, I suppose. But other days, it's nothing.
But also this comment, I saw a review and a video about it. That's when I lowered it to a 3-star, because I did agree on the woman hate, etc. Like, do you guys do that also? Like, thinking very high of a book and then read reviews and then actually lower it?
Yeah. Because a lot of the times, I don't see. Here's the thing: I'm not a very descriptive person. Like, I don't like descriptions that much. I push through them, but I like to imagine things in my own head, and I prefer dialogues, because then sometimes descriptions just bore me, especially if they're done in a cringy way. So yeah, I sometimes miss a few things, and the reviews point out what I missed, and so it's justified. And yeah, the reviews affect my reading experience.
I don't really I don't think I have ever changed like my review or my rating system or whatever, but I would say, because I'm not the person that's described in the book, I didn't pick up on that, so therefore here's my point of view, but maybe, and then I link someone else point of view or whatever, like a review, someone else review whatever, to say here they explain what I didn't understand from the book because I'm from there or whatever. So I don't really change it unless it is very problematic and I completely missed it. But again, like, it really depends on many factors, actually. So
yeah, when you point that out, like, for some especially like cultural stuff, that you are, for example, if you're reading a book set in Australia and you're not familiar with their culture or their way of living, and somebody else points that out because you completely missed it, it's like, that you can't really blame yourself for not knowing, but you can move forward now that you know.
Yeah, exactly. And there's the opposite as well, where I really enjoyed books, like especially with Slavic folklore in it. It's not going to be happy. It's not going to be about butterflies and unicorns and whatever. It's not. So, and people are just like, yeah, it was too bloody for me. It was too like this, like, I don't know. And I'm just like, yeah, but I enjoyed it because I grew up with that. I knew it would be like that. So I totally understand that someone doesn't like that, but that's what I was expecting. So like, it really depends on where you're from, how, like, in what environment you grew up.
Yeah, but also what you're aware of, because somebody could not be aware of that Slavic folklore can be bloody, for example.
Yeah.
But I think the more you read, they'll probably pick up for the next books if they,
But the thing is, I think it depends when you look at the reviews too, because I feel like looking at Emily Fox's review, I feel like if I had read that before reading this, I would have noticed some of those things, kind of like you said. And I hate, like, this is, I don't even like watching full dedicated reviews of a book before I read it, because I feel like I do get kind of influenced. And if someone notices something really annoying, I also go into the book and like can't stop seeing it.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's hard to like, it's hard to avoid being influenced sometimes.
Yeah.
Like now that I've seen like Emily's review, because there's some things like that she noticed that I did as well, like looking at them, like, yeah, I remember that. Like I have a couple tab that I was like, this is kind of iffy, but now going forward I feel like I'm going to be like hyper aware of it.
That's why I read reviews only after I finish books.
Yeah,
same.
But at the same time, I'm the kind of person who doesn't like going into a book knowing what it's about. I don't read the blurb at all. So I am completely, open-minded and just thrown in there, not knowing the characters, not knowing the story, where it's going to go. And yeah, I just think that reviews can affect the way you see a book, which is why I think for me, the best approach is to, dive in on your own and then after you're done reading, after you have an opinion formed, just read the reviews if you want to.
Yeah, that's why I usually, like with Goodreads, I rate it first, then I write my review, and only after I posted my own review I go read the reviews. But then I usually do get why I'm like rating myself so high or so low, and get more information from other people. But on the other hand, I'm still true to how I actually felt after finishing the book. Because I don't want to get my feelings after finishing a book get influenced. Like if I absolutely loved a book and then it turns out to be extremely problematic, like I don't want to start feeling less about the book just because someone else picked up on it. If you know what I mean.
But you're more aware of those things for the next time, at least, which is good. Especially if you have like a platform, at least you're able to course correct. At least, like if you say you love something, you can say, I also saw, however, that like some people felt uncomfortable. At least that way you're still aware. But you're right, like sometimes if you go in right after finishing and you have all these emotions, like it's not going to be good for you to go and immediately look at reviews of people who disliked it, because then you're just going to feel like kind of like crappy about it.
But for me, that's also, go ahead.
That's also why I like the IDNF these books kind of videos, just because they often compare it to why they didn't like it or why they rated it badly, that I might actually pick them up.
Yeah.
So
negative
I actually,
reviews
in a
can
way,
help
like them
people
better.
pick stuff up.
Yeah, I actually often like them better than recommendation videos.
That's
because you see a more raw and more, not necessarily genuine perspective, but almost a more honest one. Because usually they say, "Oh, I love this book. Go and read this." While with a book they don't like as much, they state more facts about the book and why they actually rated it badly. Most of the time, I'm not saying everyone doesn't like that, but often you see it come across like that.
I like reading reviews, especially when I am in a mix, when I can't decide between two ratings. When I'm just confused what I want to rate it. So the reviews help me kind of, give the book a proper rating. But then I always leave myself at least a week to just sit on it. And then I'm always, I'm free to come back and change it.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting? I was just looking right under Emily Fox's review, Mara from Books Like What. I don't know if any of you watch her. She reviewed the book and she surprisingly said she's giving it like 4.5 stars, and she actually sees a lot of feminist themes in the book and discussions around the perceived monstrosity of women. What do you guys think about that perspective?
I think when it comes to like enjoyment of a book, I think there's a lot of factors when you like, a lot of things influence the way you see a book, like the way you were raised, the way what culture you were born in, like whether you were in Europe or I don't know, South America. It's a lot of different factors and a lot of different ways that you see the world, and then especially like how was your childhood and all that. And so I think there is a lot of nuance to all of this. And my perspective is that I love hearing all of the opinions, but I don't have a strongly formed opinion about that topic. For me, like, I don't know.
Fair enough. I thought it was interesting because we just came off of talking about how, especially like Emily Fox's review was so critical and pointed out things that even a lot of us, once we saw them, we were like, yeah, it's true.
That what I think is it's totally fair. Like I saw that, but I can also see a different side, how someone could like see it differently, if that makes sense. But it also depends the way it's worded and what they saw. So you could see it differently, but it also depends like what specific things they talked about.
Yeah, that's like, also why I never read one of those comments. Like, if I come across like one of Emily Fox's reviews in that regard, I always keep on scrolling if I see it coming back, and if there's not another point of view, just so that I'm not like strictly seeing that kind of point of view next to my own, but that I can have a wide range of point of views.
Yeah.
On a certain topic.
Yeah, that's but also like you have different things to take into account. Like I had sometimes an issue with the way the women were described, like the body, etc. But Yennefer was strong, so you can see like two way of writing about a woman, about like their look and then what they did and who they became. So I feel like those, now you want to focus on witch. That's also, I feel like the opposite of the two like reviews we've just read talked about.
So well, that's why I feel like Mara's was kind of interesting, because when you think of the story, the lesser evil, and how the mage thought that the woman in question was cursed, and she was doing all these things because she's cursed and she's wrong and she's evil and she needs to be killed. But then when Geralt actually talked to her, there was so much more. So I can kind of see this idea of like the perceived monstrosity of woman, because like yes, woman, well, in this world is clearly like hyper sexist, but there's also this really the women in the world are so multifaceted, and they're always treated as only one thing. Like Yennefer is clearly kind of, you can look at her and say she's kind of a bitch, but she has so much depth to her that it's not fair to just relegate her to just that one thing. So I don't know, I can see both perspectives.
See, this is why I love talking about books with people, because there are so many different opinions, and I'm usually just the kind of person who just likes to listen in and, you know, take in everything, and then I don't know, maybe decide what they think on their own. But like I find it so fascinating the way we pick up stuff, and you know, different reviews point different things out. I think that
True, and I really hope they will continue that in the further books to come. Like, that's actually also one of my expectations, to see strong women come back and to see how they evolve. And I'm also very interesting to see how Yennefer's path is turning out to be, outside what I've seen in the series then and the book so far. Like, I'm really interested in it, because the women on their own, they are quite strong. Like mentioned before, like they stand there. It's not like some sort of sexist puppets being a part of the story. No, they're a big part of the story. And I'm actually very interested in seeing how that's going to progress throughout.
I'm looking forward to seeing the I forget what the full name is, but there's like a council of witches that like Triss and Yennefer are part of. And they're all viewed as like untrustworthy, but it's just because they're like, at least in the game, they're just extremely powerful. They've made a decision to learn magic and become these ultra powerful beings, and they're viewed as like shady and untrustworthy. So I'm hoping that we get to see them more in the books and find out more about them, because the perspective we get, at least in the game, is very, again, like you're seeing them through other people's descriptions of them, but I feel like there's so much to them that we're going to get to see. I hope so anyways. I'm looking forward to it.
I think the show did that really well. Just that part. I don't know if it's going to be in the Sword of Destiny. Maybe I'm hoping that we follow Yennefer's character arc in the Sword of Destiny, because that was, for me, one of my favorite parts of the show.
That was on Aretusa, right? Or Aretusa?
Yeah.
Is that the place?
I think so.
Of the mages? I'm not sure. I'm not sure now.
Yeah, it was.
I don't know enough yet.
Aretusa.
Okay.
Yeah, it's quite well depicted in the series as far as I've seen it, and it is a tough school of learning. It's not to compare it a nice little Hogwarts where they're teaching magic and passing through exams. It's definitely a harsh culture there. But I'm really excited to see how it's going to be in the next book. If it's going to be there.
I really want to see Yennefer's character. I love her as a character, but I would really love to see the way her character was depicted in the books. Because the way they did it in the TV show, like I said, it's one of my favorite things. So I'm really looking forward to that in the books.
Me too. And the other witches, because they're all really interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what about you, Sasha?
About?
What are you most excited for the next book?
Like, I'm most excited to actually read a novel, and not especially like short stories. I want a plot from the beginning till the end.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm excited about, to see, like, because now that I got bits of the world, I'm excited to see like one thing that's pretty consistent, to see how different it is, and if it makes sense, if the short stories are going to help me understand what's going on, whatever, and if I actually really enjoy the writing style and the story and the world. So I need something bigger with one plot.
I wonder where the book is going to start. Like, we have these short stories. Is the book going to start before the Sword of Destiny or after, or like where will we start?
We will have to find out, I guess.
Yeah. In a few months. I mean, 2 months.
2 months.
In
Yeah.
April.
I'm so glad they're all short, to be quite honest with you. Like, they're not like typical 800-page. I have another read along for Robin Hobb books, the live ship traders. 880 pages.
Yeah.
This is very welcome. They're all short, but I feel like there's nothing missing. Like, you still get world building and like really beautiful writing at times and characters. So I'm looking forward to seeing like Sasha said, like an actual plot being developed within the world with these characters in such a short amount of time. I feel like there's still going to be so much there.
Yeah, that's also how I felt after finishing this book. I was like, okay, now I need to read the second one just so I can start the novels. But then I had to put it on hold, and I'm like, oh yeah, wait, I still need to get through short stories first before I get to the actual novel. So yeah, I'm gonna see how that turns out, picking it up.
Question: who is gonna watch the show after reading, I don't know, The Last Wish or Sword of Destiny? I'm gonna rewatch it. That's why I'm asking.
I think I'm gonna watch it after I finish like the 2 first books.
I think
want to
eventually
watch it.
There.
I'm just like terrible at keeping up with shows. As I mentioned, like Shadow and Bone, I still haven't finished. It's been ages. I don't know.
I haven't even started it yet.
I want to watch The Witcher, especially because the show itself like stands alone from the books. But I don't know.
Like, if you wait till early May, we can tell you if the show stops after the first 2 books or if it even goes further than that. So that will be a good thing. Like, if you finish the first 2 books, we can tell you if it's safe to watch the first 2 seasons without getting
Is it getting
spoiled
released weekly?
No, the first 2 seasons are fully out.
Oh, okay.
Usually it's on Netflix, I think.
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Okay.
So
then it might be worth it. I don't know. I might wait till I finish the whole series. That might be another way to do it, just to like not be tainted at all by like going back and forth.
Yeah, maybe.
Might be the way to do it. I'm gonna keep playing the game though, because I need to finish that. That's been going on since like November. I've been playing it. Sasha, if you get the opportunity, I know you said you're not a gamer, but like it's a good ass game. It's fun.
They say if you want more in-depth knowledge of the story, play the game. That's also what my boyfriend said. He didn't read the books, but he did watch the show and play the games. And he's like, yeah, if you want to know more about everything, play the game.
I think my favorite part of the game is just the open world and all these side quests and just getting discover everything, discover the world for yourself, and also the world building. There's a lot of like different political stuff with each country, so I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, but how do you find the time to read, to watch movies and shows, to live a normal life, to play? That's what I'm scared of. Like, to
I'm gonna
actually
put you
start
on
a
hold
game
after.
and love
I'm
it.
gonna put you on hold after number 3. How to have a normal life that doesn't exist, and you want to combine all of those things.
I don't watch movies or TV. That's how
Oh.
I have time to like YouTube, read, and play video games, and kind of have a normal life, sort of as normal as it gets with COVID.
Fair.
I mean, for me, I don't watch movies, especially, I mean, only if they are book to movie adaptations, then I do watch them. But when I watch TV shows, I'm very careful with what I watch because I don't like everything, and I also don't have too much time on my hands. So when I do watch it, I do the same as with audiobooks. I speed it up on 2.0.
Brilliant.
Because even for YouTube videos, I find that I can't focus. And it's not that my attention span is bad, it's just my ADHD. It's like, it's really hard. So it keeps my focus better if I have to make it a chore to focus, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It does.
I never thought about speeding up TV shows to get through them because like that's why I can't watch movies. I can't sit down for 2 hours because I'm immediately gonna go like on my phone or start doing something else. But speeding it up is actually like
time
brilliant.
saving.
I can watch a show and sit down for a while, but when they put breaks, also with like a break in the movies, I hate that because it takes me out of the movie for like a quarter to 20 minutes and then put me back in, and then I'm like, yeah, never mind, I lost the feeling with the movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have to like suck me in. Same with the book. They need to suck me in, go through it, and then I have to let it go. Once I put breaks that are too long, also with my books, like if I stop reading it for like a month or not even that long, then I lose interest, and then it's so hard to pick it back up.
I've fallen into that trap a lot. I have like a pile of shame of books I started and then I got like distracted and then I just never came back to those. And it's shameful.
I'm trying to get through my physical TBR this year. I have 63 books left. But I think I only read like 4 physical books this year from my physical TBR. And the rest I've just unhauled. I've done a lot of unhauling because I decided if a book doesn't, pique my interest very early on, I can't be bothered because you just know. Sometimes you just know when a book is going to be your favorite. So I've been really picky and just tossing books out, basically giving them to my sister because I there's only so many books you can read in a lifetime. And I really want to read the books that are enjoyable, not the books that I am struggling to get through because of my fear of missing out.
Yeah.
That's also what I got with Game of Thrones, to be honest. I shamefully watched the show first, all its seasons, before I started reading the books. And to be honest, it took me a while to get into the writing style and everything. But once it got to my favorite characters, I was like, okay, let's fly through this book, even though it's still very dense writing in a way.
Yeah.
But that's like an exception for me. Like it took almost 100 pages to get truly into the book. But then again, those are massive tomes as well. So yeah, it also depends on the page count. If it's like a 300-page book and it takes me up to 100 pages to get into it, well, never mind. But if it's like an 800 or 900-page book, sure, I give it like 100 pages.
Yeah, fair.
You might as well.
I also think, like,
Just
we
one-
talked about. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. My own watch along started 11 minutes ago. I really need to leave. I'm late for my own live show.
I'm sorry.
I'm just gonna leave.
Keeping you up.
You can continue, no worries. But thank you so much for the discussion. I honestly cannot wait for next month. Yeah, I'm sorry, I really need to go.
No,
it's okay.
All good.
It's okay.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
I really think it's interesting when we talked about the writing style and how blunt the author of The Witcher was. I can't pronounce his name for the life of me. Like, I don't know. But anyway, what I wanted to say is I found that it was really interesting how in the Game of Thrones, I feel like George R. Martin is the same. Kind of really blunt and gore, and the trigger warnings are also the same. So maybe it's like the medieval type of books, or maybe it's just I don't know, when it was published, or just the author.
I think it's the author, because you also have, for example, like Brandon Sanderson, who's massively popular male author that writes these crazy long books, but his books are always very accessible in the writing. It's not what I would call blunt in the same way that the Witcher book has been so far in all the Game of Thrones books. Like, it's still very like direct, but it doesn't feel dense.
No.
Granted, I've only read the Final Empire. I haven't read the Stormlight Archive yet, but I found that it was still very, despite it being also like, it also wasn't sexist like Game of Thrones and Witcher, so that might make it a little easier and a lot less gory and violent. But it doesn't feel the same. And like those are older too. I don't think they're quite like 90s old, but they're definitely a little older. And I didn't feel like super. It's just like it's interesting to see how some are like so popular, but they're so almost dated. And then you've got some authors that are still not, they're able to make a fantasy world without sexism.
Yeah. Well, that's fair. I haven't read any of the Brandon Sanderson books, but I am definitely like planning to get to them just when I'm in a more of a fantasy mood. But to be honest, my reading is mostly like, I would say 80 to 90% women. So I don't read men's books that often.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually quite the opposite. I read more from male authors than I do from female authors in general, especially when it comes to fantasy.
Have either of you read Robin Hobb?
No, but I saw how thick the books were. Intimidating.
Very. But I am a convert to the Church of Robin Hobb lately, and I feel like people who don't, I feel like she has this, she's so different that I was even trying to convince my friend, because I have a booktube friend, Mariana, that's quite like you, like she reads mainly female authors. Even for like high fantasy, she kind of sticks to, she's read S.A. Chakraborty and like a lot of female authors. So I was trying to convince her to read Robin Hobb. And my other friend, who's a bit more like me, reads a lot of male fantasy authors. And I was like, I feel like Robin Hobb is like the perfect, because her books are somewhat medieval fantasy. There's like keeps and knights and kings and that kind of stuff. But her writing isn't blunt. It's almost like there's almost very little action and violence. The books are hard because the characters go through the most like heartbreaking things all the time, but the writing is not remotely blunt. It's so beautiful and expressive, and it's so different from anything I've ever read. Having read a lot of the other fantasy series, it's like unlike anything I've ever read, but it's still medieval. It's kind of interesting how many directions you can take with like the medieval world.
Yeah, true.
I've noticed.
I do have it on my ebook translated, so I might give it a shot in my native language. If that doesn't work out, I'll try the English version. But I'm actually really scared for the writing style for some reason. So because apparently, if you look at the reviews, it's very hit or miss as well with the way she writes. So yeah, I'm a little hesitant at the moment.
It took me a while to get into it, but once you're into it, it's, oh my god, it's amazing.
For me, it's just the number of pages that it intimidates me, because you have to actually like sit down and take your time to properly be in the world.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely, now that you described it so well, I think I definitely want to pick it up. Because
The first book is shorter. The first book's like the shortest in the whole series.
And that is how many pages?
That's a good question. I think it's
You're
like
gonna say 800.
No. It's like 400 pages.
Oh, okay.
It's not crazy. Well, my edition, I have the UK edition.
What's the age range? Is it adult?
It's adult, but you know what? In the first book, you follow the main character when he is a child. So from ages like 7 to 17. 392 pages. Like it's not crazy. You follow him when he's quite young, and you're in like his perspective, and he was like dropped off at the castle by his mother's family because he's a royal bastard, and so the royal family's going to have to take care of him, and then he starts discovering this like magic that he has that he's not supposed to. It's very quiet, like it's not a crazy sword fighting fantasy. There's a lot of like familial dynamics and political things happening, but and like honestly, first 150 200 pages I was like, this is interesting. It's beautifully written, but it's slow as all heck. Like I would not be surprised if maybe you did get a little not bored, but like distracted.
Yeah.
But I found that the payoff was very, very worth it, in my opinion. And because it's the first one's the shortest and it's 400 pages, it's not too much of a commitment.
Well, I think just knowing that the payoff is worth it is kind of what would, help me stick through it. So
I would look up other reviews by people you trust. My take, because it seems like we have like for some things we have similar tastes, but for other things not as much. So it might be worth looking up.
That's lovely. I definitely should pick it up just to see whether we agree on it or not.
Yeah.
But has anybody ever told you that you are really good, like at explaining things?
That's why I love her channel so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. I don't think anyone told me. I like to talk. I can't shut up. So I guess I want to put it towards something useful, which is why I started reviewing books. Because I always read critically, because I think like that's something that some people, I've seen some other people get like criticism for it. They're like, well, why don't you just enjoy books? Like, why do you have to read them critically? I'm like, it's kind of fun to sit and talk about books and discuss them with people, and like, because then you get to know your own taste. If you can articulate why you like or don't like something, you get better at picking things that you enjoy, I think.
True.
So I watched a lot of BookTube before starting, and just kind of figured out like how people talk about books, how to review books, what to look for, even though you're like reading for enjoyment at the end of the day. If you notice certain things, like how to talk about them, I found it's really helped to enjoy books even more, I think, if you know how to talk about them.
Yeah, true. And I also think that's also a nice way to actually wrap this live show up, because we've been talking for almost 2 hours.
But it went by so fast.
It did.
So yeah.
No, this was
I think
fun.
we'll still discuss the next date, because I have no idea what my schedule is going to look like. Because
we can just talk in the chat. So, I think it's
yeah.
easier now that we've seen each other's faces, and there's less intimidation there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
because I don't know what my schedule is going to look like either. But either way, I'm sure we'll find something that works for everyone. And if not, we'll have the Discord, hopefully, so people, if they can't join for the show, they can still chit chat.
True.
I think that'll be fun.
So yeah, the next book is going to be Swords of Destiny, just so that people do know about that, or the UK version, in case people want to know.
Masha looking.
Mine's in the bedroom.
Where is my
bedroom? I have it. Like this, but a different picture.
Indeed. So yeah, I think it's going to be early April that we'll sit together again, just so that people get another full month to actually read these books.
Mm-hmm.
That's also the reason why we take full months, so that even slow readers can keep up, or slower readers. Because otherwise, just because these are short books, like for people who are reading massive tomes all the time, this is like a short story on its own. So yeah, they'll fly through it much faster. But yeah, I feel like people need to be able to keep up.
Well, especially I think like you three are not reading it in your native language, right? So I'm sure it's a little more difficult to get through, especially because it's not.
I read only English books. I prefer only English books.
Fair enough.
For me,
I read both, but I notice it by the more lyrical and floral the writing is, the more difficult it is for me to fully comprehend what they mean. Like, usually I can drive it from the context and everything, what's happening, so that's not the problem, but like the tiny little details go lost, or I just get bored, and then I try doing it in my native language. But also notice that my native language skills got so bad because I kept on reading in English. That was like, yeah, I need to force myself to read in Dutch more often to actually maintain those skills. So yeah, but these I'm reading in English. Also for the live shows and everything, so that we're using the same names, so it doesn't get too confusing if they're name changing things. So yeah.
But I think you're right. A month is perfect. So I'm looking forward to, because I have other things to read, but I'm really looking forward to being able to like pick up Sword of Destiny. It's nice and quick. I'm excited for it, and I'm excited that we're going to be able to talk about it together again soon.
Me too.
Hey.
Okay, so I think we'll wrap it up here.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Are you gonna just exit the live show and then we'll say goodbye to each other after? Okay.
Okay. Bye guys.